Well, thanks for joining us so close to the holidays. Hope everyone has some fun or at least relaxing plans for this week and next week. This call may not take the full hour. Our our fearless tech and project manager Kelly is going to be walking us through a couple of things, and then we'll go over a couple logistical items. So, um, today, we're going to be reviewing a homework assignment that we meant to do last week, but we got a little bit um, off agenda times, which was fine because I do think we needed more time to discuss it. Anyway, we're going to be going over how you all can help us role play this the pre-screen that we have in 2.0 to ensure it's customer friendly and it's getting to what we need. We're going to talk about a deadline and then have questions and next steps. So, does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you on accessing the pre-screen and using the personas, and then I'll review the feedback portion. So, I'm going to stop sharing.
Perfect. Okay, so a homework item that we have for everybody for this week is actually to do a little bit of testing slash role playing. So we're going to kind of walk through what that looks like and the purpose of it. Um, can you guys see my screen here, the IWDS?
Yep,
Okay, perfect. So, what we would like for everyone to do, I think, I cannot remember which call it came up on, Sarah, but there was a question of, if I had someone walk into my office and they wanted help filling out the pre-screen, like a staff assisted pre-screen, what does the timing of that look like? So it's hard to really, nail that down unless we start doing a couple role-playing activities. So this homework is going to be walking through the pre-screening, which I know many of you have already done a couple times, but this time being more focused on using a persona with maybe someone in your office, or you could use one of the personas we provide, which I'll give you an overview again of where those live. Or you could even have like one of the people in your office, like bring an example customer they've worked with recently, and you could walk that person's situation or persona through pre-screening. So I think there's a couple different ways to get creative as you test this as part of the homework. Um, but a couple things we wanted to make sure that you note in this case, we're not going to use like the traditional notebook route or like a survey. I want it to be conversational with whoever you're role playing with and just take notes. Did we did we put together like an Excel,
I
Sarah,
did. Yeah.
or do I you
Yeah.
did? Perfect.
So I'll
Okay.
go over kind of like how to give feedback after we're done.
Okay,
But yeah,
perfect. Awesome. Okay, cool. So Sarah will go over kind of what we're looking for in the feedback here next, but overall, what I'm going to provide you guys to is the overview UAT document for the pre-screen because this is going to walk you through exactly what you need to do and have notes, so you'll have all of that in one place. You'll also have the recording here as you go back and prepare to complete this homework, but I want to give you an overview as well. So if you use that persona document, you're going to want to add the customer in here if they're not already in here, or say you're using an example from your office. So you have a career planner that brought in, Kelly Brown, maybe you change the name, and add that customer in, and then go in and add the pre-screening. But what we'll start with first is I'm going to walk you through how to just start a pre-screening. So if you guys remember, under management tools and testing, and then testing page, eventually this will live on like a public facing page, but right now to be able to test it, we have to have it kind of embedded in here. Right at the top here, application pre-screens. This is that page that's going to live on a public facing in the future. So let's say that we have, the person in your office. that we need to, enter their information in here. I started someone right before this, so you'll enter their first name, last name, email. If you use like a fake mail, this bypasses receiving any email. So definitely utilize that fake mail option. Or if whoever you're testing with wants to like actually receive the email, that's totally fine too. But that fake mail piece being the easiest to kind of bypass that. And then you'll do your zip code, date of birth, and then, how we can help them, and then hit test. I'm going to go back to this other one that I created earlier. So if you ever need to come back to a link of someone that you put in here, it's going to be down here on the bottom. So in this case, I can copy my customer link, open a new tab here, and this will go directly to where I left off for this person. So after
Kelly, can I
you,
pause you for 1 second
yeah,
and just ask the group, how many of you have access to the pre-screen before? Like, do we know how to get to this website? Looks like a lot. Okay, great. Is there anyone that hasn't? Okay, great. A bunch of pros. Awesome.
awesome. Okay, good. Okay, so once you get that customer entered in that pre-screening, and have that kind of like baseline information, it's going to pop you into the welcome to the application pre-screening. So it'll have your customer name and a quick overview here of, how long it takes to do this form. So I think as you're role playing, especially since we're looking at, okay, is this a staff assisted process, right? So you're going to be able to kind of go over this with them and say, are you ready to get started on this? So we have a variety of things that we can help with, and that's, training, work experience, or other free services. This pre-screening process should take about 5 to 10 minutes, but it helps us learn more about where we can connect you to the best programs, right? So you're going to kind of walk through that, talk track in this role play with the person that you've pulled in to help with this. And feel free to, role play with multiple people in your offices. I think this is a great way to walk through this process with them, show them how it works, allow them to ask questions, and even get, people excited about what this looks like. Because if you're role playing it and it's like, oh, well, that wasn't too bad, but I know it, I know all this stuff. So it might be a little bit different with a customer, but they can start to envision what that may look like, right? And it helps you as the trainer speak to this as well, right? So if you're like, totally understand, you're going to have a variety of people that you are staff assisting this pre-screening process with. Some people are going to be really great at it. Sometimes it's going to go great. Sometimes it might not go so great. But, if 9 times out of 10, this really helps us find ways we can connect people to different programs and get the right information to get things started, then, that's a win. So they're going to walk through this and say, if you're not ready to apply, there's a couple other things, but if you have the time right now, we're going to walk through this quick pre-screening process, and I'm going to help you with it. So just a general overview there, talk track that they can go through. And then if you hit next, go to pre-screening, it's going to start breaking things out here into different areas. So getting to know you better, this starts with, we have some goals that we have here listed that may be kind of what you're thinking in terms of your journey to, starting a new career is what you told me. So on here, say start or change a career, get a job, they're able to click these of which ones they would like. So you can do those, or maybe they're unsure and you can put that there. But you're able to start assisting them with filling this out. How urgently do you need a job? Like, is it something you need right now? Or, what's your timeline? And then if they're like, I'd like to find one soon. From that drop down, maybe it's right away. I'm not looking for anything right now, but I'm trying to prepare myself, those type of things. Um,
So Roy has a question in the chat, and I think it's just going back
oh yeah.
one screen.
Okay.
So he says that he's done this in the local Discovery Thursday group, but could you go over the screen really quick where you were able to pick up where you left off with the customer whose pre-screening was started previously? Um,
Yes.
and Kelly, can you put in the chat? I'm gonna put it in the PowerPoint. the link to get to this place, like wherever you would start. Not that I'm,
Yes.
yeah.
Let me grab it real quick. This should take you there. If you're wanting to follow along, you'll just have to log in. But yeah, if you're wanting to go to like exactly where you were at, or like go back to one like I did before, when I went to management, testing page, and then application pre-screens, there's one down here where you could like copy the link. It doesn't look like there's like a search option on this, but if you look for like names and things, if you know who you put in there, you should be able to access that. But it was right down here under this page is where I grabbed that link. So, link to my customer one that I was already working on.
Rory, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think. Hold on a second. Sorry. I think when we were doing it with the uh when we were first practicing it, I think that was one of the things that that came up was that we started someone like I can't remember like um to go back how to go back and like if they made the first couple of screens like they got to maybe like skills or something if they wanted to go back. So I just wanted to make sure they can like once that started that they'll be in that list then. So we'll try. I'll try to show them again.
Sounds good. And we can look too. I think it should also show up in like the customer list, so we can go look at that after as well. But that's a way to get directly back to that link.
Yeah,
Um,
there was something too for just so so that their names or records are not in the system like taking up space in there for indefinitely or forever. But was there also something? And you might be getting to this later. So if you are, I apologize because like being on the Tuesday and the Thursday groups now, it's like we might
mhm.
be a little ahead of some things on the Thursday group. So maybe you haven't gotten there with this one. But was there something when they start a pre-screening? Is there gonna there will there be like a time limit? Like if they don't complete it in 30 days, they would need to start over. That was another question somebody here had.
Yes, I believe so. I think it becomes like inactive or something after 30 days, but
Okay.
I can double check on that. And I
Okay.
Yeah,
believe that
Rory,
that's all going to be like incorporated into policy.
yeah. Rory, we're trying to internally figure out like a consistent time frame for all of these things so people don't have to remember like 60, 45, 90, whatever. And all of it has to be in policy first. So yes, we're looking to do that. If you all have any thoughts when you're doing this, like, hey, I think 90 days or 30 days would be the amount of time, go ahead and put that in your notes. And we'll review those at the state level as we're going through the policy too.
Oh no, that's fine. Like I said, I just it's good to know that it'll expire just because it it incentivizes the career planner then and the job seeker to to get to remind them like hey let's finish let's finish where you left off just so just the fact that it expires in general is in a way is a good thing because it gives you like I said a reason to sort of like incentivize them to try to complete it as soon as they can and and stay with it don't fall through the cracks kind of thing. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the getting to know you page here, overall, what's their goal or trying to achieve? And then if they have, so do you have a specific career goal in mind? They can give you some information here. Maybe they have general fields, but they need help narrowing it down. Um, Maybe they have specific career interests, and in this case, you can put those in here. This one is not required though. Maybe they, have no idea what they want to do, and that's where a couple other things come in mind of us narrowing that down as we help them. So you can say, what are their primary, what are their secondary kind of interests there for career fields. But then as you continue to scroll down and work on that role playing, it's also saying, okay, as we're talking about this process, do you have specific hours you're looking for? Do you need like flexible hours? Are you still figuring it out? Are you open to many things? Like, what does that look like for you? Um, and then as they continue to scroll down here, what is your work experience? Like, do you, I know you mentioned when you came in, you have a job. Is that pretty stable at the moment? Sometimes people, have stable employment, but, they're not happy with what they're doing. Or I've had some instances where customers are hearing about some layoffs that are coming and they're wanting to try to get ahead of that. So they can give you some more information there. But again, really having that conversational flow when they're talking with a customer. So I think this is going to be a really good exercise for you all and, the way that you can help this change across your different your different regions that you're going to be training. So then it breaks down into health needs, transportation, having that conversational question here as you're assisting them, legal needs, money needs, and they can provide those. And then once they've done that, they can hit next page. From there, it's going to look at their skills screening. So in this case, depending on the instance, remember these are all set up to be, customer-centered, asset-based questions. So in this case, I can read and understand stories, articles, and directions. So, I can do this on my own. I need help. I think based on prior feedback, we had like a I'm not sure option. We removed that to help with that piece. Um, David, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I don't see a hand raising option on my screen here, but thank you very
Oh,
much.
no, you're good.
Um, I don't, and historically, our career planner wouldn't have done a pre-screening tool
Hmm.
one-on-one with a customer, but we do have a technician in our resource room who might do that. Are you envisioning that being the person who would do that in the future as well?
I think that's a great question. Sarah, have you had any conversations on that? But I
Yeah,
know her.
so
Okay.
we'll be doing a common, like universal intake with Title One now, where a person in the resource room could direct them to this link and they could do it on their own, but then a person could also do this with a career planner. That'll be in policy, and I understand that's different from a lot of areas flow currently. But we're really wanting to ensure that we're being as consistent as we can across the state. And that's why exercises like this are so important to us to make sure that we're being thoughtful about the time it will take to do this potentially with someone. So there's going to be a couple different avenues a customer could use to access the pre-screen. One, they can do it on their own, and they can do that right now with pre-screen through application. And then two, for those who might be less inclined digitally, they could do it with a career planner. So that like role playing is what that second option is what you all will be role playing in this situation. But there could be a resource room person directing them to fill this out online if that's something that the customer would like.
Mhm.
Did that answer your question, David?
For now.
Okay. Yeah, I know we're doing this kind of piecemeal right now as the system is being developed, and it'll make more sense. And the goal is to kind of say, here's policy, here's system, kind of hand in hand. So you all can have a bigger picture of it. Um, I am empathetic of it not necessarily making sense all the way right now because
Well,
Kelly can,
when I
yep.
was a career planner myself, I would have liked that opportunity to work one-on-one with the pre-screening tool and to start building a relationship with the customer and find out things that pre-screening forms typically don't include. But if a resource room technician does this, that information will probably be lost. I mean, that knowledge that the resource room technician gains in the process wouldn't go anywhere.
Well, the good thing about this, and Kelly can correct me if I'm wrong, all of this pre-screening application, all of the information that they'll be submitting will be saved to their customer account and will kind of
Yes.
follow them through the
Well, not the
system.
not the conversation though, just the answers to the questions.
Right, not the
Right.
conversation though.
The
So,
conversation is often where the real important material is.
yeah, and
True.
that's true. And I think noting that in policy that and I'm pretty positive right now, the thought is that we would just have a Title I career planner do the pre-screening with them if they're wanting staff assisted pre-screening. Um, but I know we have not finalized that policy.
No, that sounds good. That might be a good idea. This is Robert. I see you keep on clicking that if I need help, I can do this on my own. I can't do this. When did this clicking stop?
Oh, it's
You
done
know,
now.
oh, okay. I'm like, depending what local area you at, if we serve a lot of people and this thing take a lot of time, that's going to really be a problem because we don't want to sit there for a couple hours with the client. We're already sitting them almost an hour going through the regular IWDS, and we don't want to make it too incumbent where we're
Hmm.
getting all of this information just for a person looking for a job. Um, Also in this thing here, there will be any talk about if they want additional training, especially if they
Yeah.
come from a company who having mass layoff, how we want to handle that. Because most of the time they already is set. They're just looking for a job and stuff like that. They're throwing some stuff out there.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so the duration portion is definitely something I would like you all to pay attention to as you're going through this. Like it took me X amount of time to talk about this with someone. There are going to be people like, you know, I'm generalizing, but maybe like a younger demographic might do this on their own. Um, but there are going to be people who want to have staff assisted pre-screening. So definitely take note on how long it's taking you to get through this. And then as far as the dislocated worker conversation, Robert, we've had that at the state level. And we do want people to go through the pre-screening regardless. Um, However, give us feedback on how long this takes because we do understand that dislocated rapid response conversation is nuanced and it could be a large influx of people coming in all from one place who already know what they want to do. But
Right.
if you could give us that feedback, that way we can, because maybe the pre-screening takes 10 minutes and then it's just, it's not too big of a deal, but if it's taking you, a long, long time, then I think that's a bigger conversation.
Okay. Well, let me ask you that. When you do this part right here that's on screen and you check I need help, I could do this. Does this open up when you hit next into other parts where they would have to go through one, two, three, four, five, six, seven different stages?
Not in
If
the pre-screening.
I mean, when you hit next page, will it start popping up? I need help. Is it going to start asking what you need help in, or no?
No, this
So
one's really just like a quick overview.
So what
So,
this is, Robert, this is kind of a truncated basic skills
Mhm.
screening tool for eligibility.
okay,
But
that's
what will happen is the answers will like flag different items as they go through. So if I put, I can't understand directions in English, that's going to flag some ESL things on the back end. So
gotcha.
but the
Okay,
customer won't have need to know anything. It's just taking that
good.
information and kind of mapping it to a potential service.
Mhm.
Um, so this is really information gathering at this point. We're really trying to understand what are their goals, what are their current barriers, and then some eligibility criteria. And that's just the pre-screening. And this is a major shift from how assessments are currently done, like the comprehensive and things like that. We have really pulled apart all of those questions, painstakingly so. I think Kelly can note, pulled apart all those questions and kind of moved them to where, what do we need to know right away? What do we need to know, to get a little bit more information after we've determined they're eligible? And then what do we need to know for a training assessment? So what you're going to be seeing now, you'll have to kind of shift your mind into, this is just a pre-screening to see if they're eligible. And then we'll go into like a deeper dive of how we can help them and what are their barriers and all of that as we move further into the assessment process. But right now, we're only focusing on that pre-screen. And to Rory's point, yeah, a lot of times I would imagine it would be helpful if a person fills this out on their own, because this information would populate to their career planner too, or their local area. So that way they can have that, those flags already noted. But there are going to be people, I have quite a few of them in my family who probably want to talk through this with someone.
Mhm.
All right, Kelly, if you want to.
Okay. Yep. So like Sarah was saying, these really just flag a couple different things, because if someone says they really need help with computer skills, that's going to flag, some technology things we can do with, or making sure that they have access to Wi-Fi to make sure that they can do these things, or, that those technology skills that they might build. So these don't go any further, but gives us kind of a very, very high level area of places that we could provide additional services or connect them up with the right things. So once you go through that with them, you'll hit next page. And from here, it goes through some general eligibility. So I entered this information in on the very first page, so you'll see that carries through. You're not going to have to re-enter information. But then it's going to start getting some more info. So, sex assigned at birth. Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you meet selective service requirements? Entering your selective service number. Also, if you do not know where to find it, you can find it there.
And just to note, especially with this, and there's going to be some other things, if you flag that you're female, it's not going to ask you your selective service number, right, Kelly?
Yeah.
It,
So
there's a lot
female.
of skip logic here, so we're not asking people questions that aren't applicable to them.
What about the birthday? If the birthday is, you give a birthday,
They're
right?
too young
And too
or
young.
something.
Exactly. Would
I
it
think it's
flag that?
I think it should flag that. I think that's something that we've talked about in testing, like if they're like 12 or something like
Right.
that.
Oh, you was reading my mind.
Um, but that is something that we'll have to test. So if that's something that you all want to tinker with and maybe Kelly, you could do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, please confirm this is correct.
Oh, it does let you go through.
It does let you go. Now we don't want that.
No, we don't want that. Um, Kelly, what note? I think you need an internal notes document. Um, okay. I'll send Olivia that email.
It
But
looks
that,
like actually, it looks like maybe with that date, like
uh-huh,
it got
it
rid of
doesn't
some
let
of
you
these
go
other
through.
things. Yeah. So it took a lot of that information away.
Maybe we need an informational flag to like pop up. It's like our services are for this, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then
And
data
it does and it does
substitution.
that for selected service for males too. Does it pinpoint the correct year?
I'm not sure on that one.
I believe we did have this conversation internally, Robert, of
Yeah, I
um,
believe you. I'm just
but
double
I
checking.
don't, yeah, I can't remember what that year is. off the top of my head. Um, but let's
Okay.
see. David has some notes on
Um,
sex and gender. Roy said, I guess there's always a chance that customer rushes through the answers. Yes. Um, yeah, so all of these questions in the pre-screen, we're hoping are relevant to the next phase of assessment. So our rule when we were adding questions into this, and it's not foolproof, and we're so in the water that we need your help to make sure, to Robert and
mhm.
David's points to say like, did we check for this? Um, but our kind of criteria for adding questions was, do we have to ask this question for the Pearl? And then additionally, if there's not a so what to the question and we're just asking it to ask it, we got rid of the question. More or less. So everything should be mapping to something and everything should be able to be, I mean, granted, some of the demographic information is not going to be necessarily tied to some follow-up, but the like basic skills and some of the eligibility criteria should be all tied to some next
Okay,
steps
Sarah,
in the
sounds
assessment.
good.
But if you have questions, again, I'm going to go through where you can put your notes and we'll review those the next time we all get together.
Okay, so as you could see here, we tried, a very young birthday. It took away these different things here. But we'll confirm on what that looks like or adding like a flag there. And if we did female, selective service doesn't show up. And then I also took a note down, David, on sex versus gender to bring that back to the state. Um, and then are you a US citizen? If you say yes, if you hit no, it's asking if you can legally work in the United States. And then I think in this case, if we hit no here, it takes away some of these things as well, right? So assuming these ones would limit your eligibility if you're not able to do that.
But if for legally working the US, if you hit no, would it let you go to the next screen?
No, it doesn't look like. So see how we've got here program eligibility. If I hit no here and no, I'm not able to work, it took away those program eligibilities.
But does this let you stop the next page where it says next page? You see what that part does that?
Right. Yep. Next page, it would let you know, like review. You're almost done. And then it kind of gives you this information and has them like continue, just do like next page. I confirm this information shared is correct. Um, so let's try
Hmm.
this quick. But in this case, if we do next page,
Yes,
then it moves into program eligibility, right? So if they were not eligible to work, it's not even going to move them into program eligibility.
gotcha.
Okay. So in
But
this
we do want
case,
them to review that information. I think sometimes
mhm,
people select, to your point, Robert, like maybe they said no, but it's actually they
Right,
don't know.
correct.
Uh,
Absolutely, Sarah.
so we like some fail safes in there, but we're excited for you all to test it out for sure because I feel like I've seen this too many times to see anything different anymore. Um,
Because
but
I get a lot of problems sometimes with career advisor put a no there and they couldn't find out why it doesn't work. And that's probably one of my go-to, either that or selected service that I would look at, or the
mhm.
veteran.
Okay. So a couple questions here on the program eligibility. It will start to ask, are they currently enrolled in school? Do they have their high school diploma? If they hit no here, then it asks if they have their GED. But again, if they're currently enrolled in school, it's not going to ask them any different questions. But if you hit no, then it's going to ask these. But if they have their diploma, it's not going to ask if they have their GED. So it's designed so it's not asking unnecessary questions. So in that case, let's say we move to the next one. It'll start to ask a couple more profile information. So if we look here to best support your participation. Please let us know if you need accommodation or assistance. So it looks like in this case, this was flagged because my person in skills had a couple language support. So this is for people that don't speak English. I think I flagged that on my skills screening that I need help with things in English. See that? So I need help with those. So then when we come over to the profile information, it flagged that I needed language support based on those answers. And I said reading, writing, those things, right? So it flagged those based on that skills assessment and is asking some additional information. So English isn't my first language. Maybe I grew up speaking Spanish. Would you like information on free programs to improve your English? How do you identify? They've got some prefer not to answer options. Sexual orientation. Veteran status. So they'll fill out some of that base information there and hit next. And then this brings them to that review page that reviews all of that. So this is a good chance for if you are staff assisting someone to fill this out, kind of going through real quick, making sure that everything looks correct, and then confirm that I shared the correct and complete to best of my knowledge, and I understand my personal information will be kept private. And then hit next page. And from there, this page is kind of showing you like what the next steps are, right? So you're off to a great start. Thank you for answering the first set of questions. Based on your answers, you might be a good match for a workforce program under WIOA. While this doesn't mean you can join for sure, it is a positive first step to getting and finding a job, learning new skills, or getting support. So one thing that will be here that's in process of being developed is a short orientation video to provide some more information, and also a preparation packet, and then ability to start the application. So those pieces you will just stop here. The purpose of this homework is to walk through that pre-screening and um, walk
With
through that
the
pre-screening process, kind of time what it looks like, get general feedback from whoever you're working with to test this in the role play.
with the orientation video, would that be per local area or one general video for all?
One
Well,
general.
yep, we'll be doing a statewide video for that, um, with the standard information. We're and it won't be like 10 minutes. It'll be like a quick video on what the next steps and what they should expect during this process. Um, do we know the application portion of this? Kelly, I know that they're working on application now in development.
We've got
Um,
I would say probably in January. Let me see. Let me see if I can find those notes. But I think January roundabout is when we're going to be starting to test the application. Let me see what I can find. Great question. But yeah, that is one of our next up for UAT. Okay, yeah, like it looks like maybe mid to end of January, we're going to be in the application and testing that piece. So get excited.
yeah, I'm excited. Okay, does anybody have any questions right now on kind of accessing the links and
I will send a homework like email
awesome.
with
That'll
all
be
of
awesome.
basically like your homework role play toolkit. So you have everything in one email, similar to what I do for our local calls on Thursdays. But if you guys can't access anything or have any trouble, always reach out, okay?
Okay, so
We recently had a transgender case here that became an issue with selective service. I'm going to have to review those details. As I recall, the client identified as male, but birth certificate said female at birth. But I think the client was entered as male into IWDS, and that triggered the selective service. And then we couldn't do selective service because he was born a she. Uh, it was kind of interesting. I'll have to learn more about that, see how that works in context with 2.0.
okay, yeah, we'll have to review that language. It's a balancing act, as you all know, between making sure things are customer centered in our language and all of that, and then also
Gather
upholding,
the right info.
yeah,
Yeah.
gathering the information. So if you could note that, David, that'd be really helpful because that's not a situation we've talked about at the state level, I don't think, or at least I don't remember it.
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
like that would be, we want policy to reflect what it needs to, but then also probably a training, um, a important training item there, because like
yeah.
that sex entered or sex at birth is the big thing there. So okay.
With that being said, is the policy going to state if the person time of birth was male and they had a gender change to female, which one do we keep? Because the customer might demand that while I'm a female. How do we answer that question to the customer would be?
Um, I think in those situations, we would have to, reinforce the at birth and then explain the reasoning why, and that we understand that it could be, um, it, you know, hurtful to them, but the real situation is that we want to ensure that they're not flagging any kind of like, for instance, selective service requirements that would then not allow them to be eligible for our services.
Mhm.
So I think it's unfortunately a lot of these situations that are kind of outside the yes no are going to be nuanced and require training and policy and guidance to kind of all work together. We work through
We
this.
actually had a situation in 17 where a customer applied and all of the documents they turned in was female, so birth certificate, ID, everything.
Mhm.
And when I went to enter them in the system under the social, it flagged it as already in the system. So after kind of just doing some digging around, it turns out that they were in our program as a youth and at that time was a male. So that conversation was, I had to kind of I met with the person in person, and kind of just talked to them and explained to them that I wouldn't have even asked I wouldn't have known, if they weren't in the system before. So that was another part that was really interesting. We got gym pots and all of that involved. So they were a little offended at first when I was just kind of asking some of those probing questions, but after I kind of explained that, they were in the program before and that, they kind of let their guard down and I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm not trying to offend you or anything. And again, basically we had to explain this about at birth, how you were born. So
Mhm.
luckily they did have selective service already at the time, so that wasn't going to be an issue, and we basically had to proceed how the system was originally set up, but I was able to at least update the name for the new application and everything like that is kind of what Jim Potts told us. So it was an interesting situation, but so I guess I'm saying all that to say I don't know how that would have been. I think if we would have never that person wasn't in the system before, we probably would have never known, or even it wouldn't have come up that they were ever a male because all of the documents said female. So I don't know.
Now
I
that's
was happy that way.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Very.
So I wonder if we need a flag, but we're like something to you all's point and like what Rory put in the chat, adding a signed at birth. Um, that might help address some of these more
Yeah,
nuanced
we
situations.
need something like that because I like to tell them, hey, this is not an entitlement program. You're not entitled. You got to meet the qualification to get in, and this is a part of it. I tend to be very straightforward to them. I did used to have some customers, and I'm like, I did everything to bug you. Like, you're the one who need the program, not me. And that turned out to be one of my best clients. And but sometimes you just have to be straightforward. This is not an entire program. This is not trade. And I think they get the idea when they feel like they know that they just can't get it because they came in. You got to meet qualification to get into the program. So that's something.
So I guess that
Okay.
to that along those lines, I think the only way really we can cover it is basically them attesting to the information in the pre-screening. So when they're asking the question, "Hey, what sex were you assigned at birth?" If that, for example, the customer that I'm referencing, if they would have select female and then provided all this female documentation, there really would have been no way of us knowing, and that's kind of what Jim Potts and I discuss. I mean, these customers are signing these applications and they're signing things. So I think when we get to the end of the pre-screen, is there a place where they kind of sign and to say they just kind of check off and attest that everything that is correct, right? I thought I saw that.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, perfect. I think that's about all we can do at that point. I mean, we're not detectives, we're not investigators. All we can do is
Right.
take them, for face value.
Mhm. It's definitely a balance of asking the right questions, but also, not making assumptions. And then there are going to be people that might be upset or offended, right, when you start to probe. And I think that's where you're going to have to train your region, and this does come up. All we can really do is state, this is policy. I'm sorry that you feel this way, but I completely understand, and I'm going to share this feedback with our, stakeholders that help write policy, right? So you're providing that you're going to give the feedback so they feel heard.
But this is great conversation. I'm excited to see your feedback to the pre-screen. We're about 10 minutes out, so I'm gonna go over a few things and then kind of walk you all through where the information is located. So let me see. This kind of just gives a high level overview of what the homework is. So either find a homework or homework, find a coworker, or use a persona. I'll get that link from Kelly and put it there. Access the testing site um, using their name or a fake name, start the pre-screening record. And then Kelly, is it fakemail.com?
Yep, fake mail.
Okay. So
Hmm.
if you use something like an example name, whatever that is, plus fakemail.com, it will bypass the email verification. Um, Go through that pre-screen process as that person, either persona or coworker, or like Kelly said, if there's someone in your mind that you have recently been in contact with, oops, that'd be helpful. During the process, take some notes on your thoughts, and then once complete, access this. Let me see if I can get in here. Oh, I just had it pulled up. You guys get to see the craziness of all my teams. Congratulations. So the feedback is within this Alea resource folder, and each of the folders has a notes document. So 1223 persona feedback. And if I click on that, it will slowly pull it up eventually, I'm sure. Oh, it's spinning. Yep, Rory.
So for and I remember from the week before last, the Thursday group, we went into the UAT resources and like download of the personas. For the personas that you guys have created to help, which are good because it kind of like it's a variety of people with different circumstances, and and their answers would be different, and they would prompt then different answers to come up based on what's selected, so you get to look at the variety of that. But if we wanted to so are those the personas that you guys have created, are those in that customer list? Would you want us to, or ask career planners to take one of those personas and find them in the customer list and then like kind of continue and then go through the screening for that person? Or has someone already maybe done that? Would we re-enter that person? Sorry, that's kind of a dumb question. I was
Oh, that's a
kind of
good
thinking about how
question,
that would
actually.
work. Or
Yeah,
just use,
Kelly, do you
because if the
know?
name's already in there and someone's already done it, would we just like maybe not use Victor Hayes, for example, like the one you have up there, but use their characteristics. So like maybe enter, like if that Victor
Mhm.
Hayes, if there's already a Victor Hayes screening that's already been completed,
Yeah, you could
just take
just
it
make up a
over.
new customer name. Yeah,
Okay, but this gives us
absolutely.
like a good like sampling of like people from with different backgrounds and different barriers, different goals, so we can use
Yes.
their characteristics. But okay, because I didn't know if they're already in there, is it okay to overwrite whatever's already been entered? I guess we could do that, but
Hmm.
if it's easier, just create a new fake name and then just but use the persona, go through it as if it's that person's career goals.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to double check on
And
that because I
I'll put
didn't
that.
want to delete something or overwrite something that was in there, and somebody goes back and say, "Hey, wait a minute, I started a record for this Victor Hayes or somebody, and it's not there anymore."
We'll just say use name. Does that work for you, Kelly?
Yeah. Hmm.
I think this is hyphenated. Okay. All right. So you'll go through it, and I think the notes document came up. Here it is. Oh, it's pulling up on my other screen. Tricky. Okay. So when you're going through everything, I think Kelly and I noted it might be easy to take handwritten notes or just kind of note something on your own end. But then after you're done, for each section, we just really want to understand, was the information clear? Were there any terms or system labels that would be confusing, you think, to customers? Both doing it with a career planner or if they're doing it on their own? Do the questions reflect how customers naturally describe their situation? Is there any other information that a customer might expect to share that's not captured here just for the pre-screen? And then overall, we're really looking for how long this took. Um, do you feel the flow is intuitive from a customer's point of view? At any point, would a customer need clarification or support? And are there any like redundancies while we're presenting just this pre-screen information? Um, each of you has your own notes document within this Alwea resource folder, which is the same place as your IWDS users. So the trainers, you will have the 2 or 3 Alweas in your area, and then a feedback document, and then those representatives from the Alweas who aren't the trainers just have the 1 for each.
And when you want that to be completed, will
Um,
that
we have
show
we
everybody?
have
I know you mentioned it before.
let me stop sharing and I'm gonna look in the calendar.
Let's say our next meeting is this 6th.
6.
I'm a
So would
little
you?
bit, I think that we probably need to have, well, Kelly, did you say the application? We'll talk about it on the 6th?
No, the application's like later in the month of January, so like
Okay.
towards the end.
So let's do the 13th because I think that you all have plenty of I mean, if you could get it
Probably
done on the
time
6th,
off.
that'd be great. But if you have people who are in your office who would have time off or things like that, we could do the 13th. So ideally the 6th, but deadline
Let
would
me
be the
just let me
13th.
just make sure I'm clear. I'm talking about that list you showed up with
Oh,
all my
yes.
users, like who
Hmm.
have access to IWDS. You want that in there based on the current role from the SDA. Is that
Yep.
something how you want it?
That's due. I'm gonna have to pop back into the PowerPoints. from last week. I think we had that due the 6th or
Okay.
the 9th. I'll have to look back at that email, Robert, because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll make sure to add that into the email, the follow-up email for this.
I just want to make sure I get it. I could probably get it done. I know I have about maybe 30. Oh, you said you didn't want it the outside yet. You just wanted it in-house first.
Yep. But if you want to know, like, we have these 6 sub grantees or, you know,
Okay. You know what? I'm
date.
gonna make my job easy. I give you everything that I have, and then we could go from there.
Yep. And that really, this is just the starting point of making sure that we, as we plan for you all to train your region, we have a good grasp of what that looks like, kind of going into it. So, and also some of these people's jobs will look a little, not their jobs will look different, but the customer flow is going to look different. So how they interact with those different stages is going to be important too as we go through training. Did you make sure we get into those folders without a SharePoint? Yeah. Okay, so I did try, Crystal, and Kelly helped me, but if there is something that says like error, if you could send like request to approve, um, or whatever that like request access, I can approve it. But as far as I know, you have access. However,
This is
Teams
the
is,
same problem that happened before.
uh-huh,
At the very beginning of IWDS 2.0, when we started the Thursday meetings, we had this problem for a while where the SharePoint system wouldn't allow anybody in. They had to do a workaround to do it. That's back when
yeah.
Sarah was, you know, I mean, it was a whole different thing. So I just wondered if the same process had been done so that we could start this and make sure that we could always have access to moving forward or not. So if I try it again and I get the error message, you just want me to send it to you to show you?
Or just email me that you don't have access and
Okay.
then we'll work on it. Kelly and I were on a call yesterday and I think that we've addressed it.
And then I think the other thing too, Sarah, that you and I are working on within our project page, within our like IWDST project page, we're gonna make a specific like trainer landing page. Um, that way I can like link things like in the public facing that should help a little bit better with access. Similar to like how all of our, our full list of resources are here. Let me show this real quick.
Yeah, Rory put it in the chat. That's what you get.
Yeah. And Rory,
Uh,
that's which link did you try to access? Just the ones that I recently put in the chat or the ones from last week?
Oh, so I was going by actually the email you sent us
Okay.
just to RLWIA that you sent out I think late Friday or Saturday, but you had sent the you had sent
Like a hard
an
copy.
Excel attachment file too. So I was like, well, I can just open the file and just do it and then email the file back to you. So you had given us a choice. So but recognizing that screen, I was like, oh, they probably just haven't granted us access yet.
I think we figured out what it was too. So, Sarah, it's that whenever you copy
The
the link,
setting
making
one.
sure it's open to people with existing access because it defaults to like just state of Illinois. I have the same thing with SIU that happens. So we'll work to
Yeah,
make
that's what
sure
it
that
was. It would say
those links are
it would look like
correct.
our own internal SharePoint from my office here, the county.
Can you click on
Log in,
that
and
link,
then it would
Rory, and
say
see if that worked?
Saluki SharePoint, where you would sign in. But we wouldn't sign in. Or there was something they set up that did work temporarily, where it was like it would send you a code to your email, and then you would type that code in. Microsoft would ask you, and then you could get in. But I didn't mind using the attachment you sent me. I can do that and just email that back to you. But do you want me to try I'm trying the one in the chat. It's asking me for a password. Hold on a second.
Teams is not my favorite, just so you all know. We're working
I
on it,
did
but
name.
it's not my favorite. It's great, but there's always little hidey holes of things I have not.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it makes sense because it's, it's your guys or the one for the discovery team, the IWDS team, the SIU, that's your secure, you know, SharePoint. So it's to let external users in. I mean, I can see where they, would need credentials here. I can, um, let's see that one. Yeah, that one didn't let me in either.
Stuff again. Kelly, we'll have to, maybe I'll make, well, but you have access to the whole. The issue I think is we have a Teams that I'm kind of granting access into subfolders of the team versus the entire channel. And I think that's really the biggest issue. Um, that we'll have to, and I'm gonna have to look at. Maybe I'll just tell you, maybe I can create an open channel and just grant everyone access within that channel.
Yeah, that
Um,
might be a good idea since we've been
okay.
having some technical difficulties with the links.
From mine, it doesn't matter whether I go through the links in the email or through the chat. I get the same thing every time, so I can't get to it at all.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me know. This tech is definitely not my forte.
Is it,
Okay.
would it be possible to, um, put it, this Excel workbook in the, oh yeah, because you want it to be able to be dynamic. Like, so as people are editing it, it's in real time. So they're not sending you a document all the time that you have to copy and paste. But I was wondering, like, in the UAT, um, or sorry, the IWDS 2.0 like resource page where there's the links to access the notebook and that we can access. But I don't know if you put it there, if people can access it
Yeah,
or edit
Kelly,
it.
we might just have to move stuff to your Belugi teams.
Okay.
Um, because our only issue is, there's stuff on our state teams that can't be public, like we can't have public sites for, and our do it system for the state teams, it's pretty intense. So I'll work with Kelly. I'll send a hard copy of the notes and the PowerPoint out. That way you have it and you can just download it and we'll work on where it goes next. Um, and then I have a shell copy of just Awea contacts that you can download from an email too. Um, and we'll work that way you can have it, but it won't be on Teams yet. Like Rory was saying, if the link didn't work, at least you have like a hard copy that you can access on your end. But we will try to get this fixed before the next time we meet, which is not next week. It'll be the week after. So the next time this group will meet will be on the 6th. And Kelly and I will send out an email with this homework and the note, the deadline for the contact list as well. So
Joel, I approved your username, so you should be good now. Let me know if you're having any issues. And then Hallie, I don't know if you want to stay back for a second. We can look at what's happening for yours.
okay, does anyone have anything else?